Hey there. In this video, I'm going to show you how I used a mix of Google Sheets and SQL and Python and AI to automatically flag conversations that our users were having with the AI where they were getting frustrated and annoyed. As a founder and as a product manager, this is incredibly helpful because I want to know when the AI isn't behaving the way our users want the AI to be behaving. It's really useful for me to be able to investigate or perhaps even better, reach out to our users and ask them kind of like what happened and figure out how we can improve our AI. Now, what I really like about this workflow is that I have this like fully automated, and it's really practical because I can actually mix a bunch of different tools, including AI, to analyze semi-structured data. And I have to use AI, or I should say like, it's best for me to use AI in this case because we have the conversations are natural language, and AI is really, really good at processing that. And that'd be actually hard to analyze using Python or SQL. So let's go ahead and dive in. As if you're following me, you know that with almost all my demos, I'm working off of synthetic data. But I did this in our real instance off of Postgres, and I effectively wrote like a big kind of like long, gnarly SQL query to effectively get the same data I'm going to show you here, or similar data. So what I've done is I've looked at the messages from our users, and I've stored that in a single field, concatenated field here with the user's side of the conversation. I didn't include the AI in this part of, in this data, or the AI side of the conversation. I probably could and maybe should, but I do find that like in general, if we just kind of look at what the user's saying, it's actually sort of enough to like understand if there's like frustration or like some problem in the product. The data will look something like this. You can see here, okay, load monthly revenue data. Then the second question the user asked was filter for region APAC, and so on and so forth. And sometimes the user gets really frustrated. So let's see, as you can see here, if I didn't have AI, it'd be like a ton of work to go and comb through this, but let's see, we don't have that much data, so I can take a glance. Okay, so here, for example, you can say, wait, this is missing the new hires, fix it, exclamation point. Okay, clearly, you know, the AI didn't behave the way the user wanted in this case. And that's good to know. So we can like, again, go talk to our user and be like, hey, you know, what were you trying to do? And like, why do you think the AI didn't work the way it's supposed to? And then we can sort of take this and automate it via Slack or email. So I took this data, again, in my case, I wrote a SQL query and stored it as a data frame using our SQL cells. In this demo, I'm just using our Google Sheet connector, and it's pulling the data and storing it as data frame 1. So now, again, I'm not going to use Python or SQL to analyze the user conversation and detect frustration because, frankly, it's just like not that great at that. But LLMs are. So I'm going to use what we call our enrichment cell. So I'm going to click on this little plus sign and search for enrichment, AI enrichment, sorry. So click on that. And then this will create a new sort of like low code cell for you. And it's going to take in a few parameters. So what you're effectively telling this cell is take this data frame 1, and look at the user conversations and apply a certain prompt that we're going to give it and produce a new field. So I'm effectively going to be asking the AI to create like a true false Boolean field to indicate whether or not frustration was detected in the user's tone. So the input data frame is data frame 1 right here. You can see that. We're going to output data frame 2. As a matter of fact, I'm going to relabel that. Let's call it processed data frame. Processed data frame. Okay, I think that's fine. Column for AI to process is going to be this user conversation column. So let's go ahead and write that. Conversation. Did I get that right? Yep. And then the column containing the AI output. This is the new column that I want to create. So I'm going to call this frustration detected. And then this is where, this is where you give the AI the prompt. So I'm going to simply tell the AI to mark each conversation as true or false. And I generally find that it's important to be specific because it's kind of like a one prompt thing. So true or false to indicate conversations where the user is frustrated or telling the AI that something doesn't seem right or isn't working. We want to be able to quickly identify Which conversations need our attention? Let's correct that typo. Okay. Now, you may find that you have to sort of play with this prompt a little bit. I find that usually I don't get it on the first shot. It takes a little bit of tuning because it's not like a conversational AI where you can like ask a bunch of follow-up questions. Well, I guess you kind of could, but really you're trying to get this like just right so that you can then automate this process and just like have it kind of run in the background. So let's go ahead and preview that and take a look here at what it produces. Okay, so the preview is just going to run on 10 rows. By the way, we do have a 10K row limit. We can lift that potentially if you need an exception, just let us know. But hopefully that should be plenty. But the preview is just going to run on 10 rows. And okay, so it's creating my frustration. Let's see, let me just move this a little bit. Frustration detected, okay. Okay, this isn't grouping. Okay, that seems frustrating. That's not right. Where's campaign X? Okay, that also seemed correct. And I have to kind of like spot each one of these. But at a high level, I would say that this seems right. So I have this Boolean field now where the true indicates that frustration was detected. And now I have this stored as a data frame called process data frame, so I can do all sorts of things with it. So I can go ahead and, for example, as a matter of fact, even just for fun, let's go ahead and let's off-road here for a second. And let's maybe plot average number of, actually, let me do one thing before I do that. Let me run this on the full data set. So I'm going to switch to run mode, click run. This sometimes takes, I mean, I'm only running on 21 rows, so this should be pretty quick, but even if you're doing a few thousand, we're doing like batch inference, so it should be pretty quick, but it takes a little bit longer to do on the run mode. But there we go. Okay, so we have all our data, and now let's say plot the average. Let's say we want to look at the average number of AI requests for whether or not frustration was detected. So plot average number of AI requests by frustration detected as a bar chart. Okay, let's take a look at that. I'm really just doing this. I actually didn't do this in my own analysis. I'm just doing this because I want to sort of illustrate that you can use this data frame in like downstream Python cells if you want, which is really nifty. Okay, let's go to second. Okay, there we go. Let's scroll back up. Okay, again, it's all synthetic data, so I'm not actually expecting any difference, but you can see here. Let me maybe scroll down and view details. Okay, again, not particularly interesting. It's all synthetic data, but you get the idea, right? So really powerful. I'm just going to ignore that, reject it. And what I did personally is I went and received like daily alerts of, you know, the conversations that users were having where there seemed to be some frustration. So what I then do is I filter down the process data frame further. So I can say select star from processed data frame. No, process data frame. Okay, where frustration detected equals true. Okay, let's take a look there. Sweet. Okay, so I have my 4 conversations where frustration was detected, and now the final step is I'm going to send this to myself via email, again on a daily or weekly basis, whatever you want to do. And I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus here, search for email, send. And then subject can be frustrated users. Okay, recipient can be, you know, john@acme.com, whatever your address is. And then this is where you can insert the data frame. So, you know, list of recent conversations where users were frustrated. And you can simply refer to data frame 2 using the curly brackets, and you can even run a quick preview. There we go. This is a preview, so it doesn't look great, but in the email it looks great. It builds a little HTML table, so you can even open it up on your smartphone. And behind the scenes, I always love to show this. This kind of gives you a taste of like what is happening behind the scenes. We're basically creating this like, oops, let me just do that real quick. Let me just unpin this so I can. Okay. Okay, so you can see here we started with our raw data. Again, in your case, it's probably a SQL query if you're doing something like this. You can see the AI enrichment cell where we added this new column, and then we whittled down that process data frame down to just the conversations that we care about based on that new field. and then we're passing this to data frame 2. And now I have an email that can go out on a, again, daily or weekly basis, whatever, with those conversations. And again, this is really great for me to be able to reach out to a user and have a conversation with them and figure out how we can improve our product. And if you want to schedule this to run on a schedule, you just go to publish. You can sort of configure the dashboard if you want. So for example, just you can remove the email cell, just show sort of like the list of conversations here. It can be a very simple dashboard. Go to schedule run and select whatever cadence you want, hit submit, and then just finish and view report. That'll publish it with the schedule that you've configured here, and then you'll get that email in your inbox. Yeah, so hopefully that's helpful. Again, this is what I do. I find it incredibly helpful and saves me tons of time, and kind of like helps me cut through the noise right to the signal. And as always, if this is helpful, please follow and like. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to drop them down below.